Good day, everybody. Welcome to Candour Conversations, powered by the African Lotteries and Gaming Association. I am so excited today. You were speaking to Somila Leflisa, Brand and Communications Specialist of the African Lotteries and Gaming Association. I am joined by Mr. Justice Ditlhong. I am so excited for this conversation. He is the Head of Compliance at SuperBets.
SuperSportBets.
SuperSportBets. Yes. What an alliteration, actually. I'm joined by Mr. Justice Ditlhong. How are you, sir? How are you?
Awesome. It's
Awesome.
a beautiful day in Gaborone. Bit cloudy, then it wants to rain, and then it's like the market.
Like the market. A perfect day for discussion, no?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I just came from your panel discussion and wow, I have to say that the wealth of knowledge that you have is actually quite incredible. So I want to ask you, what are your takeaways actually? What did you love most about the discussion that you just had? Because I see that you were joined by our CEO, Mr. Musa Mkati, as well on stage.
Look, I think, geez, where do I start? I think from a takeaway point, is that, there is a lot of talk from an African point of view to say, okay, these are the things that we are seeing that seem or appear to be problematic, right? And we all have the solutions, and we are all talking from different platforms about these solutions. And I feel there is a need for us now to integrate all these talking points, solutions that we have, and turn them into, tangible actions that can make the industry safer, attractive, and taking into considerations the ills and challenges of the continent.
Actually, on that, now I want to pick your brain a little bit, if you don't mind.
Okay.
What is one of the topics, if I should say, that you feel is most sensitive within the industry right now, as it is?
One topic? Yeah. Okay. But I mean, look, I think the issues around responsible gambling are very topical. A lot of policymakers are speaking to the issues of responsible gambling and speak to these issues and, attach issues of taxation and all that kind of stuff. And it makes it difficult to really position it, in the sense that, it looks like there is one voice on the other side speaking to, the voice of what others in the industry are talking about. And in that talk, there is a mismatch, because the other side seems to be coming through as almost punitive when it shouldn't be, right? Or taxation driven, and it's paired with some responsible gambling talk, which for me sounds more of a PR soundbite than really dealing with the actual issues. And I think that's where my biggest problems or the biggest challenges that I seem to be seeing are coming from. And the one thing that I feel it is quite important for the industry to be aligning around is responsible gambling. How do we talk about it? How do we deal with it without getting the brunt of, perceptions that are being driven by, the communities that we are operating in. I feel like, there's a PR war around the industry, right? I feel there's opportunities to reposition the perceptions, right? And drive the messaging of what the industry is really doing. I think there's a lot of work that has been done. I think there's very little recognition in terms of what is being done. A lot has been said on the negatives. And I feel there's got to be a better discussion around responsible gambling and not it being used as some kind of a scapegoat into the real burning issues within the industry.
If I could just add to what you're saying, I think seeing how the industry right now, it seems like there is a issue of visibility, because behind the scenes, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of conversation and discussions and dialogue that is happening, as you said, but it's not always balancing, right? And when it comes to responsible gambling to the public, it seems like more of a buzzword. It seems like more of, as you said, it's a war, PR war.
Yeah.
So from your standpoint, right? What would be a practical bridge in actually addressing and saying this is what responsible gambling is, and this is the framework that we should be collaborating in to actually,
Yeah. Look, I think the thing there is that there's a lot of fragmentation, right? Operator X sits there, operator A sits there, and it's a lot of tick box sort of approach. As long as I've made my contributions for responsible gambling from an operator point of view, I'm okay with it. I'm not going to be making the right sort of sound bites because that's what it's turned into. I've done my part. I've done the disclaimers that the regulators expect me to be putting there. All is good, right? I think we need to move away from the siloed approach. We need to come together as an industry and determine how we want the messaging to be framed. I think it's on us to do that. But yeah, I think the industry and operators choose to run that independently. And in Setswana, there's a saying that says "Morotoa o esi hawe," meaning that for I don't know if I can use the literal sense without coming across as offensive, but it just says one man's piss is not going to flow, but if we all piss together into one space, there's likely to be a flow, right? So that's the literal translation to it. But I think in essence it's about us coming together, making and formulating the strategies and the frameworks that define the sound or the flow of the conversations. We need to take ownership of the narrative. We can't be allowing people outside the industry that don't know much about what the amount of work that is being done, and basically just making it seem and appear inferior and like nothing is being done when so much is being done by the industry.
I see that we are moving more into talking about collaboration and really instilling it in the industry, because as you said, as the proverb that you just spoke about, there's another saying that when you travel alone, you can get to your goal, but if you travel together, you can go far.
Absolutely, right? Yeah.
So, at this conference at Big Africa, sorry, there's a lot of opportunity to network and to actually facilitate that sort of collaboration pathways. So, from the networks that you have made within the people that you have met, what is to come from that, and what is your hope that is going to go forward?
I think there is a sense of oneness, which then suggests that we're actually thinking about the same things, all of us, right? But when we go our separate ways, we have the same conversation that we had here, and then we'll move to another platform where we are going to have the same conversation without taking action on the low-hanging fruits that are there, that exist, the cohesion, the sameness, the oneness that we speak to. I think it's about us taking that action, to say, okay, we are agreeing on this. Isn't it time now that we do something about it together? I think it's a decisioning moment for me to say, okay, are we able to ride the wave as one?
100%. I think that also what you are highlighting, it seems like there should be a spirit of Ubuntu more, a little bit.
Look, I think it's there. The Ubuntu element is there. We all speak to it. We all understand that element. We all understand the problems and or the challenges that may be there in the industry. We acknowledge that. We all have solutions to these challenges and we speak to them. But we are speaking, we are not actioning, which is what I think is lacking. Or if we are actioning in the silos and the fragmentations, right? And then we are not able to go far because, it goes back to your point. We need to come together and drive the solutions that we have. And I think they are amazing solutions, they are amazing ideas, they are amazing talking points. And I think they go back to who we are as the people, especially in the African continent. We understand fully who we are. We understand the challenges of our societies. We understand where the noise is coming from, right? And we understand that there is realities to the noise. And we know what those realities are. We just need to come together and run with it. That is just my view.
Thank you for your insights, Mr. Justice. So in closing, I'd like to ask you, we have a segment called Double or Nothing.
Double?
Double or nothing.
Are we gambling? Okay.
I wish we were.
Okay.
I wish we were.
Okay. Double or nothing.
We are betting. We are gambling, betting on principles.
Okay.
And values.
Okay.
So, what is one value or principle that you would put your all on as we approach the future of gambling in Africa?
Sustainability. Yeah. To responsible growth.
That is almost self-explanatory.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear more.
Look, I think, what is more to that? I think there is value in us being overly protective of the industry that we are in. We see the fruits of it from sporting codes, from the downstream ecosystems within the industry. We need to be jealous about that. We need to be guarding about that. We need to be singing praise to the great work that we do, right? We need to be jealous of our punters, right? Protect them, guard them, and ensure that, no one falls off the way. We are able to all go together and enjoy the platforms that the market is catering for and ensuring that our people and communities are well taken care of as well. And plant the seed of, outcome-based things like sports, community outreach that speak to the responsible gambling that everyone talks about. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ditlhong. This has been such a wonderful conversation. I'm definitely leaving here with something, with a lot of knowledge. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk. And I think it's also important that one acknowledges the work that ALGA is doing. I think you guys are really doing amazing work, and if you guys stick to the ideas around what makes you guys tick the way you are, I think there will be benefits that we are already seeing, and I hope they trickle down to the laymen across the continent, and they get to benefit the fruits of the work that you guys are doing. I think you're doing really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the recognition.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.